For 30 years, global trade ran on a simple algorithm: manufacture goods as cheaply as possible in China, load them onto ships, and send them thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean. Then came the tariffs, followed by a pandemic that snapped those supply chains overnight. Companies realized that relying on factories located on the other side of the planet was a massive liability. This map shows the geographical reality driving the solution. Instead of a 6,800-mile ocean voyage from East Asia, which can take weeks, Mexico shares a nearly 2,000-mile land border with the U.S. Goods reach markets in days. Overlaying demographic data reveals another advantage. U.S. and Chinese workforces are aging rapidly, but the average Mexican is 30. That combination of geography and a young, skilled workforce triggered a massive inflow of capital. By 2024, foreign direct investment reached a record $41 billion, pumping so much liquidity into the country that the Mexican currency surged, earning the nickname the Super Peso. The result of this shift became official in late 2024. Mexico overtook China to become America's #1 trading partner. On paper, those numbers look spectacular, but zoom in and you find a two-speed economy. One half is industrialized and hyper-efficient, while the other is dragging massive structural weights across the finish line. In the northern states, the momentum is obvious. Billions of dollars are pouring into world-class assembly lines, where skilled technicians are building everything from electric vehicles to advanced aerospace components. But those brand-new gigafactories are running headfirst into a physical wall. The industrial parks require massive amounts of power and water, and Mexico's underfunded electrical grid is struggling to keep up, leading to rolling blackouts in regions that can't afford any downtime. The root of that power gridlock lies with the state-owned oil company, Pemex. Carrying roughly $100 billion in debt, it is the most indebted oil company in the world. Because the government pours tax dollars into propping up this aging fossil fuel giant, there is very little capital left to modernize the broader energy grid. And the infrastructure deficit isn't limited to the power lines. It extends directly into the labor market. Despite the high-tech manufacturing boom, roughly 55% of the Mexican workforce operates entirely in the informal economy. These are cash-only workers, ranging from street vendors to day laborers, who receive no benefits and pay no income taxes. This bar chart visualizes the trap. Because more than half the country doesn't pay income tax, Mexico collects only about 16 to 17% of its GDP in tax revenue, the lowest ratio among OECD nations. It creates a loop where the government lacks the funds to fix the infrastructure, and without that infrastructure, informal businesses can't scale up to join the formal economy. Then there is the shadow economy. Modern Mexican cartels have evolved far beyond basic drug trafficking. They operate more like highly diversified, aggressive Fortune 500 conglomerates. They levy an extortion tax, known locally as the peso, on legitimate enterprises. Whether you are farming avocados in Michoacán or running a local construction crew, failing to pay the local security fee can be fatal. This chart illustrates the staggering cost of that violence. Economists estimate that the impact of organized crime absorbs roughly 18 to 20% of Mexico's total GDP. It acts as an invisible tax on the entire nation. To survive these domestic pressures, millions of families rely on a second hidden pillar: remittances. In recent years, Mexicans working abroad have sent home over $60 billion annually. This massive influx of cash highlights a severe geographic divide. While the northern border states are tightly integrated with the U.S. and soaking up global industrial wealth, historically isolated communities in the South depend on money sent from relatives in places like Texas and California just to buy groceries. To bridge that gap, the government launched large-scale infrastructure projects in the South, including the multi-billion-dollar Tren Maya Railway and the Interoceanic Corridor, hoping to finally pull these marginalized regions into the global supply chain. The paradox is that while politicians often frame those record-breaking remittances as a victory, they actually signal a domestic failure. The fact that billions of dollars must be sent from abroad highlights that the domestic economy still cannot provide a living wage for millions of its own citizens. Despite these internal fractures, Mexico has become the indispensable economic anchor of the Western Hemisphere. Half of the population has now entered the middle class, driving a surge in internal consumer demand that is visibly reshaping the country's cities. But this entire ecosystem rests on a specific legal foundation. The factories, the foreign investment, and the cross-border logistics all rely on the tariff-free access granted by the USMCA trade agreement. And that agreement has a ticking clock attached. In 2026, the USMCA faces a mandatory sunset review, giving Washington the power to renegotiate or even terminate the deal entirely. The tension heading into that review is already high. American politicians are closely scrutinizing what they view as a backdoor for Chinese manufacturers, who are increasingly using Mexican assembly plants to bypass U.S. tariffs. At the same time, Mexico's internal politics are adding to the uncertainty. Recent controversial judicial reforms, which mandate electing judges by popular vote, have alarmed foreign investors who fear the erosion of the rule of law and the stability of their contracts. Mexico currently holds the geography, the demographics, and the capital to become a central node of global trade. But if the country cannot modernize its power grid, formalize its workforce, and guarantee a stable legal environment before the 2026 review, it risks squandering a strategic window that took decades to open.